Companies are not your friend. They will always act in their self-interest, and the creator economy is not immune to it. Linus Media Group, the parent company of LTT, is a direct example of this. Their recent crisis is a cautionary tale for any creator who is planning to build their business. Linus Tech Tips crisis started with a one-off comment during the tour of their hardware testing laboratory.
The difference between us and somebody like Nexus or Hardware Unboxed is we test new components, new tests, every time.
Nexus took this comment personally. What followed was a 44-minute deconstruction video where Nexus team brought up every fair call-out of some of the bad habits and bad practices LTT exhibited over the years. Rushed testing, rushed data verification or lack thereof, fails in communication with some of the smaller third-party vendors, and general sloppiness in some of the content, all driven by what LTT employees themselves admitted was a very hectic pace of video production.
Back off the amount and focus on quality for a bit.
More time for projects would be good.
Just allow us more time to work on a video.
The video itself goes into a lot more details on every allegation, so if you're curious, I linked it down below. Overall, as someone who watched LTT for years, I've seen some of these bad habits firsthand, so I'd say Nexus did a decent job creating a relatively fair summary of the issues. I don't fully agree with some of the presentation of those issues, but they're minor and do not negate the points that Nexus team made. I'm also not going to touch on allegations brought up by one of the former employees. This is a pending investigation and I don't want to comment on incomplete information. All the issues that Nexus brought up to the surface have tangible effect on LTT viewers. We all watch Linus Media Group channels for years because we make our purchasing decisions based on their recommendation. And for the channel whose trust system between them and their viewers is built on the accuracy of the data, that's pretty big concern. So how did it come to this? First of all, it is important to state, I don't think any of these issues that Nexus touched on were done out of malice. If you've watched LTT enough, you know that this is just a group of geeky individuals who really love tech and stop at nothing to make their content both informative and entertaining. The issues in big part were caused by the sheer size of the Linus Media Group. I've made a couple of videos about them in the past, but to summarize, as of recording of this video, they employ over 100 people, cover 9 YouTube channels, a dedicated subscription platform, annual live events, and a massive product business unit. It is not a creator who writes, shoots, and edits their videos all by themselves while sitting in their bedroom or standing next to their bookshelf. This is a proper small business with millions of dollars in revenue and expenses. The latter point is important because everything LMG does has to ensure they meet their payroll and liability obligations. They have salaries, leases, bank loans, and other expenses to pay. And as much as anyone would try to claim that the business side would never influence their creative decisions, they're wrong. It does and it will. LTT grew to this size because they saw all of these amazing opportunities in front of them, so they had to invest into the infrastructure to support those opportunities ahead. And as you get that momentum going, as you spin that flywheel faster and faster, you're now tied to it. And it's nearly impossible to stop that flywheel without making a major impact on your creative side of business and your ability to produce the same quality or the same volume of content. This is why LMG had a neck-breaking pace of content creation. This is why LTT made those mistakes and didn't have time to properly address them in the moment. This problem is not unique to the creator-led companies. I work in the tech industry and the problem is identical. For example, you had a bunch of talented product guys who wanted to solve a problem in their industry. They came up with a solution, they formed a company around the solution, and others started to buy their product from them. The startup starts making revenue, and to keep the momentum going, the founders start to raise funds and invest in their company. The company grows bigger, the infrastructure gets more complex, the product and the solutions keep increasing in their value and their complexity, and the competitors start to bite you at the ankles. So you have to keep that pace to stay ahead. You have to keep growing, keep hiring, keep building out new products. And that eventually causes things to fall through the cracks. After all, there's no time to do a retrospect, no time to pause. You have to move, or otherwise you'll fail. Because now you have all these expenses and all these obligations to meet and all those competitors chasing you. To anyone who works in the tech industry, I'm sorry for probably triggering bad memories, but this is the reality of growing a startup, and this is the cautionary tale to any creator who wants to build their own business. I don't say you should not. You can still do it on a much smaller scale and be content with your progress. But I do want to warn you about the very careful balance that you have to strike between remaining in control of your creative processes and the pace and scale at which you want to grow your business. You can absolutely do both very effectively, the creative and the business side. but one side will always have to be prioritized, and you should decide from the very beginning, do you want to be more liberated in your creative processes and miss on some of the potential business opportunities? Or do you want to grow a massive business that will last beyond your days in front of the camera, but your creative projects will suffer and will be a lot tamer to supply all the funds to that bigger business machine? I genuinely think that both are very acceptable, and both can be acceptable at different stages. Maybe earlier on as a creator who is just filling it out, you want to prioritize the creative side, and then you'll kind of build a business on the side, but it's not going to be big and focused. But as you mature, as you have a family, as you start, developing other life obligations, you will shift your focus away from the creative side to build the business so that the business can support you and your family. And then the creative side becomes more of a well-managed oil machine that maybe you manage, or maybe you even hire someone else to do that job for you. Think Mythical, think Linus Media Group, and think any other large creator who today is slowly transitioning away from creating the same type of content they used to create 10 years ago and now really building the business machines around their brands. Just don't let all of this business potential cloud your judgment. There are ways to manage both. There are ways to maintain your creative independence while still taking advantage of some of those opportunities. And there are always cautionary tales like the one Linus Media Group presents to us that will teach us what kind of problems to avoid. As for the Linus Media Group, they actually did post a very nice, thorough overview of how they're changing the way they conduct their business and how they change the way they produce the content to make sure that they take advantage of all that feedback that was generated in their communities and in those couple of videos by Gamers Nexus. And I think overall, this entire investigation, no matter how well executed it was, maybe some points were exaggerated, maybe they should have spoken to Linus Media Group before they posted the video. Just my opinions, but in general, I think it will result in a better future for the tech YouTube. And if you're curious to learn more about how big Linus Media Group really is, don't go far and just check out this video that I made about the product side of the business. It started with a small t-shirt business, and now it's a massive production. And I really enjoyed and geeked out learning how they make this entire machine work. I'll see you next Saturday. Peace.